Hello, my name is Carly Sundin, and these are my colleagues Denelli Muniz, Justin Wright, Ksenia Shichalina, and Judy Dan. We are Brigada, and we are here today to present to you our gender criticism of William Shakespeare's Hamlet, Prince of Denmark. Gender plays a very key role in this play, as the male and female characters encounter one another, whether they are family members or romantically involved. The partnership of power and obedience never fails to make its appearance. The typical stereotype of a weak female versus a strong male is consistently portrayed. The men play the role of the mentor. A prominent couple which exposes this correlation is the exalted King Claudius and Queen Gertrude. Claudius is in a situation of complete control, as he is both the king and the lover of Gertrude. In Act 3, Scene 1, Claudius commands Gertrude to lead so that him, Polonius, Rosencrantz, and Guildenstern can discuss their judicious plan for Hamlet and Ophelia. She has a very simple response, and it is not ambiguous in the least bit. She is clear and to the point as she says, "I shall obey you." This conveys her compliance with this man. The queen wears a crown upon her head, but it does not give her absolute power. With a predominantly male list of characters, Gertrude is not the only woman in this situation. Ophelia is as well, with multiple male figures, such as the protagonist, Hamlet.
According to an article by Amanda Cloud, during the late Renaissance era, men had complete control over society, and it was apparent when the political system changed from the medieval feudal system. Men controlled society like how men controlled Ophelia's life. She had no mother figure growing up, and because of that, Polonius and Laertes controlled aspects of her life. In Act 1, Scene 3, Ophelia receives advice from Polonius and Laertes, and both rebut her relationship with Hamlet. They both tell her to avoid him. Because she never had a mother figure, she never learned how to become an independent woman, and she never identified herself as a woman. She's used to taking men's orders, and it becomes natural for her to take them, particularly from Polonius and Laertes. However, she doesn't realize the consequences of never thinking for herself. An example of this would be when Polonius orders her to return her letters to Hamlet. And doing this, it does not solve the problem, and it only makes it worse. And all the solution did was send Hamlet into a rage. Not only is her life controlled by men, but she also has a very passive attitude. Hamlet constantly talks to her in a deleterious way, and she simply does not say anything about this. In addition, Hamlet's interaction with Ophelia elucidates that he believes he is better than her. Hamlet states in Act 1, Scene 2, "Frailty, thy name is woman." The quote clearly states Hamlet's opinion about women and how they are the weaker gender. Through Ophelia's life being controlled by Polonius and Laertes and Hamlet's attitude, it is clearly demonstrated that men controlled many parts of society and women's daily lives.
As my colleague Mr. Wright stated, "Frailty, thy woman, thy name is woman," Scene 1, Act 2, line 146, is what Hamlet, the protagonist of Shakespeare's Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, says about his mother, Queen Gertrude. Hamlet is referring to his mother's weaknesses. Fairly, Queen Gertrude is frail because she has betrayed both her husband, King Hamlet, and her son Hamlet, by marrying King Hamlet's brother, King Claudius, after his death. Though innocuous, Ophelia can be considered frail as well because her maudlin character follows the rules of orders of both her father Polonius and brother Laertes. Just before Laertes took sail to England, he said to Ophelia, "Fear it, Ophelia, fear it, my dear sister, and keep you in the rear of your affection out of shot and danger and desire." Act 1, Scene 3, lines 33 and 35. Laertes is warning Ophelia to watch out and to keep her love under control and to not become a target of Hamlet's lust because her love is not chaff. Ophelia responds, "I shall obey. I shall the effect of this good lesson keep as a watchman to my heart." Act 1, Scene 3, lines 44 to 46. Ophelia is saying how she will take his words of wisdom close to her heart and how she will not speak to Hamlet. Since Ophelia had no mother figure, she was to obey both male figures, Polonius and Laertes, because she had no other choice. Both Queen Gertrude and Ophelia had to exalt their male figures because women and men were not equal. Men were more superior over women and had control on what women could or could not do.
Societies always create gender roles, which shift from time to time. As already mentioned by my colleagues, Renaissance era consisted of several stereotypes which are highlighted in Shakespeare's play Hamlet, such as gender roles and relationships between the two. For example, as already mentioned, Women of the era are subordinate to men. It does not matter what social class they belong to. Gender is what matters the most during the era. Women of the Renaissance era never try to rebut anything or speak their opinion. They simply follow what the public pushes them to do. They're too scared to show their true selves, fearing rejection and humiliation. They're intimidated, yet they're the ones responsible for this themselves. Women cover themselves up with makeup, which fact Hamlet constantly addresses, and they hope that this will hide their true self, that this will help them blend into the impeccable picture the public wants them to be, making them more likable, as if they turned into somebody else. Women are also seen as easily falling under the pressures of male figures, which is vividly seen through the fact of Queen's words, "I shall obey you." With these words, the woman makes it obvious that she gives to a male figure. By being vulnerable and so readily accepting the fact of being controlled by somebody else, the woman portrays a sense of ignominy, helplessness, and stupidity. By showing a man that she will follow anything he asks her to do, the woman shows a man she is sensitive and not intelligent enough to think on her own. Thus, she invites the man to be her mentor, to come into her life, or else she'll be lost without him.
Winston Churchill once said, "It is more agreeable to have the power to give rather than receive." However, in the play Hamlet by William Shakespeare, many sought to receive power rather than share it, and even go to extreme measures of depravity in order to maintain that power. As my colleague, Miss Sundin, mentioned previously, power was highly significant to those who held it against others, for it offered obedience and, of course, the sense of being in charge. Shakespeare's message of power reveals the hidden aspects of men's control over women, women's obedience, and gender roles as a whole. Moreover, Mr. Wright discussed Ophelia and her role as a female who was very obedient. Later in the play, we learn Ophelia remains powerless to her father, and her experience as a woman was latent due to the male figures that surrounded her. Miss Cicciolina dives into an analogy of women's deception and how Hamlet's words in Act 3, Scene 1 imply the general stereotype of women who wear too much makeup. Digging deeper into the gender roles of males and females, the themes of power and obedience implemented an even larger theme of equality. And that even if you were born rich, poor, black, white, male, or female, we are all worthy of acceptance.